The sun had barely risen, but the market was already buzzing with life. Adisa's stall, however, stood out like a beacon. Every day, customers flocked to him, eager to purchase his meat, which was always praised for its freshness and tenderness. No matter how much he brought to sell, Adisa always seemed to sell out faster than anyone else. His prices were reasonable, but what baffled his fellow butchers was how his stock never seemed to run low. He was quiet, polite, and rarely spoke more than necessary, which only added to the mystery that surrounded him. Other sellers watched with envy and suspicion, their whispers filling the air. How did he manage it? Where does all his meat come from? Yet, beneath the smiles of the villagers and the clinking of coins exchanged for meat, there was something sinister lurking. Adisa's success wasn't due to hard work or luck. There was a darkness tied to him, one that the village had yet to see. But one young boy, Seyi, had always felt something was off about Adisa. It wasn't just the speed at which he sold out. It was the man's cold eyes and the strange, unsettling feeling that hung in the air when Adisa packed up for the day. Little did Seyi know, the truth behind Adisa's thriving business would soon reveal itself in the most horrifying way possible. It started as a quiet evening, the market closing, and the village settling into the calm of the night. Seyi had been lingering near the market, his curiosity piqued by the gossip he overheard earlier in the day. How does Adisa always have so much meat? No one ever sees him with cattle, one of the women had whispered. Determined to find out for himself, Seyi watched from the shadows as Adisa packed his store and started heading out of the village. There was something deliberate about his movements, something that made Seyi's skin prickle with unease. The young boy followed quietly, staying far enough behind to avoid being noticed. Adisa moved swiftly, taking a path that led away from the village and deeper into the forest. Seyi's heart pounded in his chest as the sounds of the village faded, replaced by the eerie silence of the wood. His breath came in shallow gasps, but he pushed on, curiosity mingling with fear. After what felt like hours, Adisa finally stopped near a clearing. Seyi bent down behind a thick bush, watching intently as Adisa dropped the sack he had been carrying. The boy's eyes widened in horror as Adisa pulled out a bloodied cloth. What was he about to do? Seyi's stomach rumbled with dread, but he couldn't turn back now. Adisa stood motionless in the clearing, his back to Seyi. The young boy's heart raced, his mind screaming for him to run, but his feet remained glued to the ground. He could only watch as Adisa reached into the sack, pulling out what appeared to be the body of a man, lifeless and limp. Seyi clamped a hand over his mouth to stifle the gasp that threatened to escape. His pulse quickened and his mind raced. Who was this man, and how had he ended up here? The realization hit Seyi like a punch to the gut. Adisa was no ordinary butcher. This wasn't just meat for sale, this was murder. As Seyi watched in horror, Adisa dragged the body toward a small altar hidden beneath the trees. On the altar sat a golden calabash, gleaming faintly under the moonlight. Adisa began chanting in a low, raspy voice, the words foreign and terrifying. Slowly, methodically, he began draining the blood from the man's body, pouring it into the golden calabash. The blood pooled inside, but no matter how much Adisa poured, the calabash never overflowed. It absorbed the blood like a hungry beast, glowing brighter with each drop. Seyi's knees weakened. This was no ordinary murder. This was a ritual. And Adisa was no simple butcher. He was something far worse. The silence of the night was shattered by the distant howl of a wild animal. But Adisa paid no mind. His focus remained on the golden calabash, now glowing faintly with the fresh blood he had just offered. The man's body, now drained, lay crumpled at the edge of the clearing, lifeless and forgotten. Adisa knelt before the calabash, muttering prayers in a language Seyi had never heard before. It was then that Seyi realized just how deep this evil ran. This wasn't just about selling meat anymore. Adisa had made a pact with something far darker, something that demanded blood, and in exchange, it gave him power. The power to be the best, to outsell everyone, and to always be at the top. But there was a catch, Seyi realized. The more Adisa fed the calabash, the more it seemed to demand. Seyi's mind raced as he pieced it together. That was why travelers had been disappearing. That was why no one ever saw Adisa with cattle or livestock. He wasn't butchering animals, he was butchering people, strangers, people who would not be missed. And with every drop of blood, Adisa's store remained the most sought after in the market. Seyi's stomach twisted. He had to get out of here, had to tell someone, but as he turned to leave, a stick snapped under his foot. He froze. Terror seizing him as Adisa's head jerked up, his eyes scanning the darkness. Seyi's heart pounded in his chest as he bent slower, trying desperately to remain unseen. Adisa's eyes swept over the clearing, his expression hardening as if sensing something was amiss. For what felt like an eternity, Seyi stayed as still as possible, praying to every god he knew that Adisa would not spot him. Eventually, the butcher turned back to his task, whispering under his breath as he cleaned his knife and covered the body. Seyi's mind raced as he quietly began to back away, each step careful, each breath controlled. He had seen enough. Adisa wasn't just any man, he was a killer. And that golden calabash, it held a terrible power. As Seyi made his way back to the village, his thoughts turned to the source of Adisa's power. It had to be tied to that calabash. Who had given it to him? What was it for? Seyi had lots of questions, but he didn't have answers to them. The following day, the village market bustled with life as usual, but Seyi could barely focus. His mind was consumed by the horrifying truth he had witnessed the night before. As he passed Adisa's stall, his stomach stirred with disgust. The man stood there, smiling as always, handing out cut-out meat to eager customers. But Seyi saw through the pretense. He knew now where the meat came from. He knew the price that had been paid for every slice. His eyes drifted to the faces of the villagers, mothers, fathers, children, unknowingly purchasing the flesh of murdered strangers. How could they be so blind? How could they not see the evil that stood before them? Seyi wanted to scream, to shout the truth for everyone to hear, but fear gripped him. What if no one believed him? As Adisa watched his smiling customers, Seyi watched the butcher's cold, calculating eyes scan the crowd. He realized something else. Adisa wasn't just a man anymore. He had become something more, something darker. The power from the calabash had changed him. He no longer saw people as human beings. They were just a means to an end, a resource to feed his unholy ritual. And with each body he butchered, Adisa slipped further away from humanity. Seyi knew he had to act, but how? The fear gnawed at him, but so did the urgency. How many more would die before someone stopped Adisa? Seyi knew he couldn't bear this secret alone any longer. His nights were filled with nightmares, images of Adisa's brutal ritual haunting his sleep. He needed guidance, someone wiser to help him understand what he had witnessed. After much thought, he sought out Mama Folake, an elder in the village, renowned for her wisdom and knowledge of old ways. She lived on the outskirts, in a modest hut, where people often went to seek counsel or healing. When Seyi told her what he had seen, Mama Folake listened carefully, her face grim but unsurprised. "This is no ordinary magic," she whispered, her voice heavy with the weight of what she was about to reveal. "Adisa has made a pact with forces darker than you can imagine. That calabash is a vessel for blood, for power, but it is never satisfied. The more it consumes, the more it demands." Sheyi's heart sank as he realized that there was no easy solution to this. Mama Folake warned him to tread carefully. Adisa is not the man he once was. That calabash has a hold on him, and anyone who tries to stop him might face its wrath. But the village must know, you cannot let this evil fester. Her words gave Seyi courage, but they also filled him with dread. He had to act, but at what cost? The weight of Mama Folake's words pressed heavily on Seyi's mind. He had to do something, but fear still held him back. He avoided Adisa in the market, his eyes always watching, waiting for the right moment to reveal what he knew. But as days passed, something changed in the village. The air grew colder and the skies darker, as though a storm was brewing that no one could see. People whispered about strange happenings, cattle disappearing, crops dying overnight, and an unnatural chill that hung in the air. Seyi knew these were signs, warnings of something far worse to come. The calabash hunger was growing, and Adisa's grip on the village was tightening. One evening, Seyi found himself walking the same path that had led him to Adisa's dark secrets. The memory of the clearing, the blood, the calabash haunted him, but he felt drawn there again, as if something was calling him. When he arrived, the scene was creepily quiet. The altar was still there, the calabash resting on it, glowing faintly in the dim lights. Seyi approached cautiously, but before he could get too close, a voice echoed from the shadows. "I knew you would return." It was Adisa. He stepped forward, his eyes glowing with an unnatural light. "You've seen too much, boy. But it's too late now. The calabash demands more, and you cannot stop it." Seyi's heart pounded in his chest as Adisa stepped closer, his eyes glowing with a malevolent light. The once quiet busher now radiated an aura of cold power, his voice low and dangerous. "You've been watching me, haven't you?" Adisa sneered, his hands flexing as if ready to strike. Seyi backed away slowly, his mind racing for a way out. "You don't understand what you stumbled into," Adisa continued, his voice rising with intensity. "This calabash has given me everything: power, wealth, respect. But it demands a price, one you cannot comprehend." Seyi stood his ground, fear coursing through him, but determination filling his voice. "You are killing innocent people for that thing," he spat, gesturing towards the golden calabash that seemed to breathe with a life of its own. "How can you live with yourself?" Adisa's face twisted into a frown. "I had no choice," he growled. "I was nothing before this. Now I am the most powerful man in this village. They all fear me, and soon they will bow before me." Seyi shook his head, disgust filling him. "You've sold your soul for power that isn't even yours." Adisa's eyes narrowed, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. "And now, boy, I'm afraid you have to pay the price for what you know." Adisa moved forward with the speed of a predator, his hands reaching for Seyi. The boy dodged just in time, narrowly avoiding Adisa's grasp. Panic surged through him, but he knew he couldn't outrun Adisa forever. His mind raced as he recalled Mama Folake's warnings. Adisa's power wasn't his own. It came from the calabash. If he could destroy it, maybe, just maybe, Adisa's hold over the village would break. With a burst of adrenaline, Seyi sprinted towards the altar where the golden calabash sat, its glow brightening as if sensing the threat. Adisa's voice rang out behind him, furious and desperate. "Don't you dare touch it!" But Seyi was already there, his hands grasping the calabash. It was warm to the touch, pulsing with an airy life. For a moment, Seyi hesitated, feeling the dark power coursing through it, tempting him with whispers of strength and dominance. But he shook it off. He shook the temptation off, raising the calabash above his head. With all his strength, he threw it to the ground. The calabash shattered with a deafening crack. Blood spewed across the ground in a thick, black pull. A chilling wail filled the air, and Adisa collapsed to his knees, clutching his chest as though his very soul had been torn from him. As the calabash shattered, the eerie glow that surrounded the clearing dimmed, and the oppressive feeling in the air lifted. Adisa remained on his knees, gasping for breath, as though the very life had been drained from him. His eyes, once glowing with dark power, were now hollow and empty. The village no longer felt his presence as an invisible weight. Instead, there was a palpable silence, as if the land itself had sighed in relief. Seyi, breathing hard, stared at the shattered pieces of the calabash, knowing that he had broken the curse, but at what cost? He had exposed himself to a darkness he would never forget. Adisa looked up at Seyi, tears streaming down his face. It's gone. The power, it's all gone. His voice was weak, devoid of the arrogance that once defined him. I did terrible things, unforgivable things. I thought I could control it, but the calabash, it consumed me. Seyi stood still, watching the broken man before him, unsure whether to feel pity or rage. Adisa had been a willing participant in the evil, but now he was just a shell of the man he once was. With a heavy heart, Seyi turned and walked away, leaving Adisa to face the consequences of his action. The news of Adisa's downfall spread quickly through the village. People gathered in disbelief as Seyi and Mama Folake recounted what had truly been happening in the market. The villagers were horrified to learn that the meat they had bought and consumed had been from human victims. Many couldn't believe that the man they had trusted, whose store they visited daily, had been selling them the flesh of innocent people. But the evidence was undeniable. The missing travelers, the strange disappearances, and now the shattered calabash that had fueled Adisa's power. Seyi's words, backed up by Mama Folake's wisdom, left no room for doubt. The village had been living under the shadow of a terrible curse, one that had been disguised as prosperity. Some of the villagers were overcome with guilt and revulsion, remembering the meals they had made with the meat from Adisa's stall. Anger surged through the crowd, and many demanded that Adisa be put to death for his crimes. But as they approached the man, they found him broken, a shell of his former self. Adisa sat in the middle of the market square, his head bowed, weeping uncontrollably. He had lost everything: the power he craved, the respect of the people, and his very soul. But Mafolake spoke. Let his punishment be the weight of his own actions. He will live knowing what he has done, and that is a torment far greater than any we could impose. In the weeks that followed, the village began the slow process of healing. The markets, once a bustling center of trade, now felt quieter, more somber. People moved with a cautious optimism, grateful that the darkness had been lifted, but still haunted by the knowledge of how easily they had been deceived. As for Seyi, the memories of what he had seen still lingered in his mind: the bodies, the blood, the terrible power of the calabash. But he took comfort in knowing that the village was safe and that Adisa could harm no one else. Far away, deep in the heart of the forest, the pieces of the shattered calabash lay buried beneath the earth. But sometimes, when the wind blew just right, there was a faint whisper, almost like a distant mournful wail, a reminder that darkness, though defeated, never truly dies. It simply waits for the next soul, desperate enough to seek it out. But for now, the village was at peace, and Seyi had ensured that no one would ever fall victim to the calabash curse again. Moral lessons: the dangers of ambition. Adisa's relentless pursuit for power and wealth, no matter the cost, serves as a cautionary tale. It illustrates that ambition can lead individuals down dark path when it overrides moral judgment and humanity. 2. The importance of vigilance. Seyi's curiosity and observation highlights the importance of being vigilant and questioning the status quo. It teaches that awareness and discernment can prevent individuals from becoming complicit in evil. 3. Evil thrives in silence. The narrative shows that when people turn a blind eye to suspicious or evil behavior, it allows malevolence to flourish. Vigilance and open communication are vital to preventing harm in communities. 4. Power has its price. The story emphasizes that power gained through immoral means, such as Adisa's pact with the dark forces, can come at an unbearable cost, leading to the loss of one's soul and humanity. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more enticing stories like this.